Breaking news this morning. The Taliban earlier this morning released American and Australian hostages who were held captive for more than 3 years. Their freedom coming hours after 3 Taliban commanders were let go, sent to the Gulf state of Qatar. Joining me right now is retired 4-star General, Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. General, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to see you, Maria.
So what, if any, does this exchange play in the stalled Afghan peace process? Your reaction to this exchange?
Well, mostly this exchange, fortunately, we're able to get our American and Australian back. What this is really about from the Taliban's perspective is Ans Haqqani, who's the brother of the leader of the Haqqani network, and he's number 2 in the Taliban movement, and the son of the founder of the Haqqani network. But what I think it is hopefully it's a step towards negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban, not the United States and the Taliban. The negotiations between the United States and the Taliban are going nowhere, because we went in there and put right on the table almost a surrender document by saying our condition is we're willing to get out. And based on all of that, the Taliban had all the leverage they were using against us. And finally, the president looked at it and said, look, this is going nowhere. These guys are still killing us. We're not making any progress with them. You can't get a peace deal in Afghanistan unless it's between the government that's running the country and the Taliban that's trying to overthrow the government.
Yeah, and most people would not trust that the U.S. could believe the Taliban in some kind of an arrangement or agreement between the two. They don't want the U.S. in the middle of this.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Taliban, as a condition of that peace deal, of course, it was never announced, but what we understand it to be is the Taliban was going to guarantee that the al-Qaeda and ISIS would never establish a sanctuary in Afghanistan from which to attack the United States. Now, they cannot make that guarantee. The al-Qaeda are their brothers, and the second thing is they don't have the strength to deal with ISIS. That's the reality of it.
I want to turn to this major policy decision in the Middle East, the Trump administration putting its stamp on the controversial issue of Israeli settlements. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made the announcement yesterday. Watch this.
The Trump administration is reversing the Obama administration's approach towards Israeli settlements. The establishment of Israeli civilian settlements in the West Bank is not, per se, inconsistent with international law.
Was this a surprise to you? Your reaction, General?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. But then again, when I thought about it, I said, this is fairly consistent with this administration. I mean, they have a tendency to kind of look at things the way they really are and take some of the politics out of it, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, moving our embassy there just recently this year, recognizing that the Golan Heights is really a part of Israel and no longer contested land. And now this decision, I mean, this is controversial to be sure. People will think that it's going to interfere with the peace process. I personally don't believe that's the issue. There are the issues that are conflicting with the peace process between the Palestinians and the Israelis are much larger than these contested lands. Most of it has to do, I think, frankly, with the radicals, Hamas, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad refusing to recognize Israel as a state and want to destroy it as a state as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's consistent with this administration, yet controversial.
Do you expect a retaliation, a pushback from these decisions?
Well, if there is some, from the Palestinians, it will not be much. And the Arabs will make a statement, much like they did, with moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, opposing it, and won't last very long. The truth is the relationship between the Arabs and the Israelis has never been closer. And the reason for that is the Iranians and the radical Islamists.
Well, that's a good point, because the protesters were out in force in Iran again. Let's talk about that, because the Islamic Republic raised gas prices. That set off waves of protests, with banks, gas stations, security bases being burned or destroyed. The regime's feared Revolutionary Guard Corps warned the protesters, saying that they would confront them, quote, in a revolutionary and decisive way. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, the reality is for 40 years, they've never had this kind of pressure, the Iranian regime. These protests are significant because they're countrywide. The big protest they had was in 2009, but that was dealing with election fraud, mainly in the capital. There's 100+ cities involved in this. Everybody in Iran, except for the elites, are affected by food shortages, inflation, power outages, quality of life diminishing. They're very frustrated because they believe the Iranians while they had money, when the oil was flowing, and when they got the sanction relief, $130 billion, took that money, Maria, and poured it into their operations in Lebanon and Syria and Yemen, as opposed to helping to stimulate the economy and improve the people's lives.
Sure.
But the backdrop to this, don't think those protests by themselves will bring this regime down. The Iranian government will kill those protesters before they let this get out of hand. And that is who they are. They are thugs. They are killers. They took a page out of Tiananmen Square and how successful that was. They will clear the streets with bullets if necessary.
And even though they continue to face pushback and sanctions that are crippling the economy, they'll continue doing that, crippling the economy.
What the administration is on a path to do is to bring them through economic pressure, not military pressure, bring them back to the negotiating table to start working with them to put together not just a nuclear deal, but how Iran's going to behave as a country operating in the region. To stop this aggression in the region is really the central issue.
Yeah, and do you think they'll be able to do that, though? I mean, this is a regime that wants that kind of...
The Iranians want no part of that deal because it's who they are. It defines them.
Exactly.
They are spreading the Islamic Revolution. For what purpose? To dominate and control the Middle East. So, listen, we have moved from appeasement under the Obama administration with Iran to confrontation with this administration. And I believe confrontation gets us a better answer in the long run in terms of a diplomatic solution.
But where does it lead, the confrontation? You say ultimately a diplomatic solution. Okay.
I do. I think it's the only way we can have some kind of stability in the Middle East is to curb Iran's behavior.
General, it's great to get your insights as always.
Good
Thank you so much.
Maria.
General Jack Keane joining us there.